Hey fam, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be going over 15 neutral eyeshadow palettes I am loving at the moment. This was a video I saw on my girl Nona's channel, My So-Called Life 1977. I'm going to leave her video link down below. And if you'd like to see the 15 neutral palettes I am loving at the moment, girl, just stay tuned. We're going to get into it right now. As y'all may know, I have been definitely feeling the colorful vibes a lot more recently, but I gotta give props to those neutral palettes because they absolutely come through clutch. Those days you do not have a lot of time for muss and fuss, and I love them. I think they're beautiful. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. So the first one is an absolute favorite of mine. This is by ABH, Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Sultry Palette. This palette is so absolutely beautiful. It's a little bit more on the cool tone side, but you do have this gorgeous little pop of coral, which I think makes a really pretty accent color for like the lower lash line. These colors are so simple to use, so beautiful. I'll swatch a couple for you. We've got a shimmer, and we'll swatch Rose Quartz, Cyborg, Rose Quartz. Let's grab Slate and Birch. So they are just absolutely gorgeous colors in this palette. I happen to really be vibing with cool tones lately. I've been living for them, and I love that this has also some kind of more browny taupey shades as well. It's not just all gray. And I just love the colors. I think they're so pretty. Even like the Rose Quartz color being that little pop of kind of more of like a pink or rose gold. I think this palette is so wearable and beautiful. I really wish it was permanent. I wish they had not made it limited edition. I think that was very silly on their part because this palette is absolutely beloved. And keeping with that ABH energy, I have to also throw lots of love to the Soft Glam palette. And the coolest thing, I just want to point this out first because I'm a dork, but if you see in here, we have the shade Sultry in this palette. Girl, look! The eyeshadow palette is this packaging. I think that's so cute. But yeah, there's the Sultry color in the ABH Soft Glam palette. I actually just used this the other day. I think over the weekend. I really love this palette. It's just so nice to reach for this when I don't really feel like thinking too hard about my eyeshadow. I know that pretty much anything in this palette is gonna work. It's gonna blend beautifully. The formula is very soft, very blendable. I really enjoy both of these palettes from ABH, and I think they make great little neutral additions to my eyeshadow palette collection. Next, I have a little tiny palette. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette, and this has basically 3 shimmers and 2 mattes, but you pretty much have everything that you need in this palette to create a full look. This palette is definitely a favorite of mine, and I should have showed you those swatches. I basically swatched everything but that middle shade. So you see we've got a lot of really beautiful tones. Even the mattes, even this one that's a little bit more on the light side really does pop. And I think this palette is such a gorgeous color story. It's so easy. These are really blendable. I love the fact that even if you're gonna have a neutral look, it's gonna still pop and have a lot of glamour and pizzazz. I like my makeup to be turned up a notch, we can say. And I think with these neutral palettes, you still get all that drama, even in these beautiful, very everyday shades. The next palette is this little guy by NARS. This is the Suede palette. This was an unexpected little gem in my collection. I picked it up because I had some Ulta points to use and I was trying to make my cart, and this fit around the right price range of what I had left to spend. And I was like, okay, I've never tried NARS eyeshadow. You know, I'll give it a try. I love this little palette. Now I've heard that the like more peachy warm tone version of this is not so great. The Suede version of this little 6-pan palette from NARS I think is really beautiful. I actually have this eyeshadow palette on in my Moxie Lash like try on video, which I will have another one of those coming soon. I just think this color story is so beautiful. Again, very easy to wear, very easy to create looks with. You do get a lot of diversity with this palette, even though it's only a 6-pan, and I really like that about it. I like the depth of shades. I like that you've got a lot of different shimmers. You've got this dark brown shimmer, the pink and the gold, and then these beautiful mattes. Swatch the dark brown and the dark brown shimmer. We'll swatch this pinky shimmer and this kind of taupey gray brown. Really just gorgeous shades. I think this palette is just smoky, sexy, beautiful, and I really love playing with it. I think this is a great little neutral palette. Next, we have the Bare Minerals Latte palette. Now this palette nearly walked the plank right out of my collection. I was like, oh, it's, you know, just a basic palette. And I pulled it for my Shop My Stash scavenger hunt for Bare Minerals. And when I used this to create a look for that video, I was like, oh, you're not going anywhere, friend. Nowhere. This palette is so pretty. So I'm just swatching this little peach shade We'll grab this kind of brownie one here. We'll grab this gold and this kind of caramel color. And oh, these are so buttery and luscious. I really, really love these on the eyes. Again, even though they're these wearable shades, you get a lot of dimension and a lot of drama on the eye, which I live for. Not about the drama in life, but I am about the drama in my eyeshadow palettes, I'll tell you that much. Next, another favorite is the Tartelette in Bloom. I love this little guy. Everybody thinks Tarte is basic, and you know what? Maybe they are a little bit basic, but you know what? Most of our days are pretty basic. Most of the time, I'm in leggings and a sweatshirt, so basic's okay with me. I think this is such a beautiful formula. I love the color story. I think this is fantastic for an everyday look. I also really like pairing this palette with like my Super Shock shadows. If I just throw that on the lid, I can go into my crease with any one of these beautiful shades. You've got like nice little color stories with like a cooler version here. This is more neutral and this is a little bit more rosy. I think these are such gorgeous shades. I think this packaging is beautiful. Just not important, but it is. Next, I have from Colourpop the Going Coconuts palette. My girl Nona, who as I mentioned, I got the idea for this video from, actually inspired me to pick up this little palette. I was eyeing it and eyeing it and eyeing it, and I was back and forth, and Nona's like, what are you doing sleeping on the Going Coconuts palette? And I picked it up and I love it. I actually just wore this the other day too. And I think these are such beautiful colors. I like that this is a little bit more cool tone, but also still neutral. You have a couple little warm shades. It's kind of like a nice little happy family of warms, cools, and neutrals. And I think this is so beautiful. You've got a lot of gorgeous shimmers in this palette, really pretty mattes. It's such a simple, easy palette. Actually, I was wearing this in my Nude Patootie video. This was what was on my eyes. So I really, really love this palette. I've worn it in at least 2 videos now. I think that my July haul, I might have been wearing this too. So definitely a favorite. I really, really like this little guy. I think he's really cute and he's a great neutral palette in my collection and affordable. Again, keeping that Colourpop energy. Girl. This is my soul sister right here, the Double Entendre palette from Colourpop. This is my go-to travel palette. I love this palette. As I mentioned in my eyeshadow palette, like occasion wardrobe tag, now I think I would bring those Jaclyn Hill palettes, but this was always the one that I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna need. I'm grabbing my Double Entendre palette. I absolutely adore this. It has got so many beautiful neutral and warm tone shades, and you can create so many different looks with this. It's beautiful for day, it's beautiful for evening. I wore this all through New York last summer when I went for my birthday. I just love this palette so very much. Cannot not mention the Double Entendre palette from Colourpop. So we are about at the halfway mark, and I'm gonna talk about Huda Beauty next. We have to be a little bit careful with this one because my black is smushed. It arrived to me from Sephora, busted the house. And I have been trying very carefully not to spill all of this out. But as you can see, there's my little broken shadow up here. There are a bunch of beautiful metallics in this palette, as well as some nice cooler tone neutral shades. This makes such a beautiful evening look. I absolutely love this little palette. Let me give you some swatches, and I will go back and swatch a few from the ones I missed. I just realized I didn't swatch those. We will swatch the silver. You can swatch this deep brown matte. These are really creamy. We've got, let's do this pretty gold. And let's do this pretty champagne color just to mix things up a bit. So you can see the metallics are just absolutely exquisite in this palette. I love the silvers and golds together, and I love all these cool tone mattes. Oh, I just think this palette is just delicious. I really think it's so beautiful, so wearable, so fancy. I just love it. And just going back to the Tartelette in Bloom, let's grab this gorgeous shimmery champagne. We'll grab this pretty matte. And then we'll grab this shimmer and maybe this matte. So you can see that while these are lighter colors, they are still so impactful and pigmented. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh, I could swatch eyeshadows all day. Like, they're just so pretty. From the Going Coconuts palette, let's do Cocoa Crush. Let's do Da Coco. Let's do Get Kraken, which is kind of like a sequin shade. And let's do Culata. These beautiful taupey shimmers and mattes. My goodness, just calling my name. I love shades like this. I just find cool tones and like neutral cool tones a little bit more inspiring this season, or I guess this year, than warm tones have been for me, though I do still love me some warm tones. I have like peach all over my eyeballs today, so Lord knows, I still love me some color. And from the Double Entendre palette, well, this one's got a big old dent in it, so I reach for that all the time. Let's grab this peachy matte. Let's grab this beautiful shimmer, another one I reach for often, and let's grab this kind of sequin brown matte. So this one's a little bit warmer, not as cool and icy as some of the other palettes, but still so rich and just buttery delicious. I absolutely love this palette. It's so user-friendly, so easy to work with, and just beautiful. Love it. I love you, girl. Okay, moving right along. The Naked Honey palette. Oh, what a beautiful neutral. So this one is definitely going to be a little bit on the warmer side. We've been in all these cools and taupes and beautiful shimmery shades, and now we've got this gorgeous array of these rich, warm golds and browns. Such beautiful shades. Let's do this kind of like neon-y gold. We'll grab this kind of bronzy brown. Let's grab this matte, and let's grab we'll grab this one here, 'cause this is a little bit more champagne-y colored. And girl, it's just so inspiring. I love this kind of greeny gold. I just think it adds so much like dimension to the rest of these shades. This matte, even though it's like a caramel color, is so pigmented. I love the variety and range in this palette. It is just so beautiful. Such a gorgeous neutral palette. Next, the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is such a beautiful neutral palette. Now we do have a little bit of color in here with, let's see, these two blues. It's like a dark teal and then this kind of tealy shimmer. We also have lime chrome, which is this kind of greeny gold right here. Kind of like a duochrome. In certain angles it looks pink, in certain angles it looks green, in certain angles it looks gold. Just a super beautiful palette. Swatch this one. This one. We gotta do the blue. And let's do this matte. So just very ethereal, beautiful, kind of colorful still. Had to sneak in a little bit of color, right? But this lime chrome, oh my goodness, you see that green flip? So pretty. So this is such a special palette. It's so beautiful, such a gorgeous formula, just creamy, dreamy deliciousness, and I absolutely love it. A definite favorite neutral palette in my collection. And when y'all see this next palette, you're gonna be like, Joy, seriously, can you do an eyeshadow palette video without this palette? And to that I say, nope. The Desert Oasis palette from BH Cosmetics. I love this palette so very much. Got a teeny bit of color in here with these little bit of blue, but for the most part, this is a neutral palette. This is absolutely one of my most used, most loved palettes in my collection. The formula is beautiful. Everything I've tried from BH, I've really loved. This palette is no exception. Let's swatch my favoriteest color, which is Serenity? No, this is Mirage. Like, I don't even know if the camera's picking that up. It's like my lights are blowing it out. That is such a gorgeous color. Let's swatch Canyon. Let's swatch this beautiful heather shade. And let's also swatch this sandstone matte. Look how delicious these shades are. This gorgeous crimsony, like terracotta red. OMG, like so beautiful. Just absolutely gorgeous. I love this palette. Wear it all the time when I would go into the office. I've been playing with more colors since I've been home, but I'm not gonna be home forever. And that'll be a palette I reach for once again when I start going back into the office again. I just love it. If I'm ever in the mood for just a easy breezy look, I want a palette that I know is gonna look beautiful, that I know has a great formula and is easy to use. She's my girl, what can I say? These last three I saved for last because they're a bit more of an honorable mention than a true favorite in my collection. And the only reason is because I have not played with them enough yet. But I can't wait to, and the color stories just move you, girl. I love them. The first is this Nomad palette from Juvia's Place. Now this one I almost didn't include because it almost seems more like a colorful palette than a neutral, but I had to because this is so beautiful. I am so obsessed with this little greeny brownie shade here at the bottom. This is a gorgeous shade in the center, and then these greens. I know I'm kind of cheating here, but Holy Toledo, it's so pretty. And this is a palette I just cannot wait to use more. I have used it a little bit in my, did I use it in my green look? I think I used this shade in the lower lash line on that green look I had on. So my camera cut me off, and in the meantime I've added a 16th palette. That's what happens, camera. Anyway, I was talking to you about the Juvia's Place, the Nomad palette, and I was talking about this shade down here. I believe this is the shade that I used in my lower lash line for that green look I did with the eyeshadow palette wardrobe tag video. This was on my lower lash line. Even though this is not the most neutral palette, I feel like it does kind of like give that kind of neutral vibe. And I just love it. These greens are so beautiful. I think they're muted enough that they do feel more everyday and more approachable, but they're so pretty. I am so about these greens. So gorgeous. Also, in watching back my footage, I realized I never gave you guys swatches of the Soft Glam palette. So I wanted to swatch a few of these for you. Let's swatch Sultry because I love that it's the same as the cover of the Sultry palette. Let's do Rose Pink, just for fun. Let's do Burnt Orange, and let's do Dusty Rose. So these are a little bit more like muted, but so beautiful. Just like really soft neutral colors that you can create the easiest, most wearable looks with. I just love this palette so very much. But now let's go ahead and get into my last two honorable mentions and then the 16th palette that I added. My last two honorable mentions are the Natasha Denona Glam palette. This is a palette I have not even tried on my eyes yet. I actually just swatched it in this video, but I didn't film it because my camera had cut off. But anyway, I'll swatch for you the shadows that I swatched. We grabbed this shade, this shade, this shade, and the pink. These colors are absolutely so beautiful. I feel like Natasha Denona's formula is so delightful to use. I feel like I kind of like, what do they call it? Cut my teeth on her shadows. Like I kind of feel like I got to learn a little bit more about eyeshadow and application just in playing with her formula. It really inspired me, and I feel like I started to do a little bit better with my eye looks after playing with her shadows. When this Cool Tone palette came out, I was so overly excited about it. I couldn't even believe it. This is so my color story. I find the shades in here so inspiring, and I cannot wait to play with it. And then my last honorable mention before we get to the 16th palette I added during the intermission, Miss Pat McGrath. This is the Mothership 1 Subliminal palette. This palette is so totally beautiful. It's more cool tone, and it does have a little teensy tiny bit of color in it, but I'm not mad at it. I really love this. It is an honorable mention because I have only swatched it. I have not yet used it on my eyes because I tend to get a little bit precious about my pricey stuff, but I do want to play with it. Swatch this matte here. And then of course we've got to grab this beautiful shimmer shade. You can kind of see in the different lights, the different kind of like duochrome shifts. So beautiful. Grab this sparkly shade here, and we'll grab the blue, of course. These shadows are so beautiful and so special. I cannot wait to play with this. I love the cool tone vibes. I love her special shades. They're just so neat. And the rest of this palette is so wearable. I love that there's these little pops of color. I think this is absolutely stunning. From this angle, it's like bright fuchsia. This has got so many different colors in it. It's just wild. So beautiful. I just love me some Pat McGrath. And then the 16th bonus palette was one that, as I was watching this back, I'm like, I cannot believe I forgot about this palette. Like, this was a total oversight on my part. I would have pulled it in the first round had I even thought about it. And that is the Nabla Platinum Cutie palette. This palette, girl, she is something else. So beautiful. So let's swatch this shimmer, this shimmer, this shimmer, and this matte. Oh my goodness, like this is just like beaming off of my finger. It's so beautiful. You get this beautiful bronzy shade. This is like more of a pewter, this bright silver, and a beautiful deep brown. These are such pigmented shades, such gorgeous shimmers, very metallic, very glittery and shimmery and beautiful. I absolutely love this little Nabla Platinum Cutie palette. I think Nabla has such a beautiful shadow formula, and I have been eyeing that berry palette. Something fierce. So those are 16 beautiful neutral palettes I am loving for my collection at the moment. I hope this video was helpful and inspiring to you. I hope it inspires you to look into your own collection and see what neutral palettes you might be loving at the moment. I would love to hear some of your favorites down below in the comments. I thank you all so much for being here with me today. I love you all so much. And until the next video,